Okay everyone, well it looks like reluctantly the time has come to have the body off the Class 47 and see if we can solve the grinding noise. So I thought I'd make a video as we went in case it's useful for anyone else in the future. There are screws here and here and there and there. Also at the front, there and there. So I shall undo them and then we'll come back to look. Okay, so the screws are all out and now comes the bit I really detest. But never mind, we must be brave in the pursuit of repaired smooth diesels. The clips on the Class 47 from Bachmann use the Perspex door glazing and a clip on the chassis. What we have to do is flex the body and cause the clip to release like this, and when we do that we'll slip a piece of card down the side in a conventional style to hold the clip off. So I'm going to do that and come back to the next step. Okay, once you have your bits of card in place, one end at a time, and you have to pull via the bogie, we're going to ease it up. Can't pull by the battery box because it'll pop off. So I'm now going to do exactly the same thing the other end, and the next time you see it, hopefully it will be with the body off. Okay, now as you can see, probably the cab insert is again dropping down despite having removed the screw, because it sticks to the chassis, and it's happening just at that end at the moment. So when we withdraw the body, we're going to have to be really careful that that coming out doesn't damage everything like before. Can't do that on camera because I need to concentrate on what I'm doing, so I shall come back and let you see the results. Okay, the body's off, and as you can see, one end stayed stuck. It's due to this horrible gungy glue they use. Look how it's stuck to that. To hold the wires in place, absolutely not needed. Make a note that the fans go over where the speaker would be when you're putting the body back on. So I'll just try and repair those few bits and pieces. Now, the job I've just done is to remove as much of this black gunk as I can. It only needs a tiny little bit to hold the wires in. Anything that's proud of these channels is what will hold the cab inserts down in the future, which we want to avoid. So I've removed as much of that as I can on all 4 points. So I've got the chassis on the track for a quick test. And straight away, listening, putting my ear close to it, I can tell that the noise is coming out the centre. So that's where the motor is. So the worst is yet to come. What we have is bogie securing screws here at both ends, and I'm going to have to undo them to drop the bogie out, and then these clips should clip the plastic part of the chassis away from the metal block, which should give us access to the motor. My fear is that everything's going to fall apart. Be a bit like trying to stick the legs back on a daddy long legs, but we'll have a go. Little tip: in order to drop the bogie, you're going to need some slack in the wires that go down to it, and you can see that here I've got a red wire disappearing down and a black wire disappearing down. They were looped, so I've just eased those loops so that they'll pull down a little bit, and I'll do the same at the other end. So the first bogie is out. What I think I'm going to do is get the other bogie out as well at the other end, and then I shall apply power to the wheels, and we'll see if the motor still makes the same noise. That will identify whether it's anything to do with one of these gear drives or whether it's the motor itself. Now we're now looking at the other end, and more of this wretched black gunk that they used to hold the wires in with. It'd be better if it was just a bit of tape. You're going to need to dig the wires out that go down to the bogie, and then clean off all the muck so that it can slide down through the holes. That's my next job. Okay, both bogies are down and out. and as I said, I have connected power up. So let's just power the motor and see what we can hear. I can still hear a vibration in that direction. So we are going to have to dismantle further to get to the motor. It should just be a case of undoing these clips, so I'm going to have a go at that. Okay, I've released the clips, but straight away I've got a problem of the wires that run from the switches in the battery box here into the mechanism are too short to allow me to release the body, so I'm going to have a little look to see what I can do about that. Okay, the choice was either to unsolder the wires from the clips, which I don't fancy doing, or unclipping them from when they go onto the circuit board. I need to release the circuit board, and then you'll see there's quite a bit of slack there, and the corresponding blue ones the other side. Polarisation won't matter, so it's just slide off this holder, and as you can see the wires just push fit through. That's what does happen. The wires just push through those two holes. So it's the two nearest the front of the loco. Just bend the wires back up and you'll be able to pull them through. There they are. And that will now allow a nice bit of slack so the body can, so the bottom of the chassis can drop through. I should do the same the other side. It's exactly the same. Okay, even with those wires slackened off, it's still difficult to get in, but I can now get access to the motor bearings. So I'm going to put a bit of lube on them and then start reassembling. Bearings lubricated, and we're just powering the motor. And then shutting off power suddenly. Seems quite free running. You don't want to put, sorry about the camera, too much oil this end, because that's where the brushes are and it may track back through and get on the commutator and you'll have more trouble. Not so important the other end, but not too much there. And I'm using a medium Hobby Lube oil. Okay, reassembly is obviously just simply the reverse. Remember the connectors, well, it's actually marked S1, S2. The switches, doesn't matter which way around the wires go. Push them through the holes and the clips go on with the smooth side up. The little groove underneath is to allow the wire to go underneath. Now, instead of wrapping it around under the circuit board as they had it, I've pulled them up on top and I will secure them with a little bit of tape to the top there to keep them neat. So now we better take a look at the gear chains in the bogies. Okay, here we are looking at the bogies. Now, one of the things one of my friends said to check was to make sure that these are clipped down properly. I am going to release it to check underneath. I also noticed, and it's difficult to show you, this is the bit that goes into the flywheel on the motor. There was a big git of plastic on there from when it was moulded. Now whether that was making it uneven or not I don't know, but I've removed it so it's now smooth. So let's strip this back a little bit and see what's going on and check that everything's lubricated correctly inside. Okay, so we've took the little clip off. There's quite a bit of lubricant in here, but it seems to be all over the place. I shall move it around and I may add a bit more of my own gear grease so that make sure that that's properly lubricated. Now, while a gear lube is appropriate, I also think we've got a lot of areas that you can't ever get at. The chain of the gear drive, for instance, goes all the way back here. I could, I suppose, potentially strip it back even further, but I think that's enough now. I'm not feeling so brave. But you've got these little bearings here which could be lubricated. So a bit of normal medium oil also on the front there and back bearing of the worm, and just down the sides hopefully then that will splash back and get on all the bits that it needs to do. Okay, that's the lubrication done there. Next job, just to mop up any little bits of excessive lube. And a tip I'm going to give you is to put a drop of gear grease on this bit which goes into the flywheels. And the reason for that is just in case there's any vibration going on there that's causing an issue. So my next job will be to mop up additional bits of oil, make sure that I've assembled everything correctly, encourage the bogies up into the recesses and see if I can slot this bits into the flywheel. This is the bit I have been dreading because, as I said in my analogy earlier, I'm rather fearing this is going to be like trying to glue the legs back on a daddy long legs. That actually went easier than I thought. If you do each bogie separately, you can use tweezers to help the prop shaft. I don't know what the correct term is, but anyway, prop shaft will do. Help it into the slot in the flywheel. Now remember, you have to now take up the slack off your pickup wires that drop down to the bogie, but not too much, and you need to make sure that inside they're not rubbing against anything. When you do the bogie pivot screw up, don't do it up all the way. Leave a little bit of slack, otherwise it won't be free turning. Now it's time to secure all the wires and we'll have a try on the track. Right, we're back on the track and the wires are back in place and secured, and we've had a bit of a clean up, so let's see what happens. Miraculously everything works still. Let's see if we can get through the points. A bit tight, but we'll have a go. Aha. The bogies must be pivoting okay. Both bogies are driving. No grinding noted. I think what we'll do is we'll take the chassis like this down to the layout downstairs and give it a try before we even start putting the body back on. Okay, we're down and ready to try it on the layout, and my wife is acting as lighting lady, aren't you? So I'm going to go this way first of all.
Do I have to go all the way around?
No, it's only going to go up to there.
Okay.
Here we go. Of course, I have no idea at the moment which way was the bad way. I'm going to come back towards me. There's no grinding there, is there? Wow. That seems to have solved it, doesn't it? Now if I can just get the body on without it shattering, I'll be quite happy. Hey everyone, so we've done a successful test downstairs. Next thing to do is just tidy up my bits of tape and things, make sure there's no oil leaking, secure these wires and try again to get rid of any excess black gunk so that the body bits don't stick in. Then reassemble the body and we'll have a final test, and maybe it's cured. It does look like it's cured. So it looks like it was simply completely dry motor bearings. So maybe Bachmann need to send over another bottle of oil for their assemblers in China. And the other thing could be that little bit of plastic that I told you about on one of the prop shafts. Could have been vibrating. Might have been why it only went one way. There was a reasonable amount of lubrication on the worms, but I've redone that and done their bearings as well. So a combination of these efforts may have solved the problem. Now fingers crossed I can get the body back on. Thing to do just before we put the body back on is sort out these horrible bits of tape which blank out the light around the domino. I'm going to recut some and do it myself. So I'll be back hopefully with the loco reassembled and running sweet as a nut. Well guys, there it is. There appear to be no screws or other bits left on my workbench. The body is back on and not too bad. This is the way that used to make the noise. And let's just go the other way. That's more like it. Well, there we go. Well, thanks very much for everybody on the RM web forum and direct via YouTube who gave advice, and I hope that this video may be of help to someone else in the future. Looks like 47164 is fixed.